No other character in comics represents the United States of America like Captain America. He's the solitary result of a World War II super soldier program that gave him enhanced speed, strength, agility, and patriotism. And since 2011, you haven't been able to walk down a toy aisle without tripping over dozens of different versions of his action figure. Year after year, repaint after repaint. Hi, I'm Dan Larson, and this is the top 10 Captain America action figures. First off, let's all agree that Hot Toys figures are superior to all the other toys available. If I were to include Hot Toys in this list, they would take the top 8 spots easy because there are 8 of them. At some point, I'll do a list of the best Hot Toys Captain America figures, but for now, for this list, they aren't being considered. Number 10 is Marvel Select Zombie Colonel America. Released in 2007, this figure was modeled after an alternate reality Marvel universe where all your favorite characters were zombies. This made it very difficult for them to save anyone because all they really wanted was to eat their brains. This figure features fantastic details like the Colonel's scale mail armor, stitching around the star on his chest, a grimy paint wash, and a removable skull cap exposing his brain. 2 issues with this figure. 1, Marvel Select figures do not scale with Marvel Legends, which make up the majority of my superhero collection. And 2, he should have a tiny nest of birds that you can put in his skull cavity instead of his brain, as should every Captain America figure. Number 9 is Marvel Legends Broodwave Golden Age Captain America. Also released in 2007, this figure is a well-proportioned, nicely detailed version of Cap's comic-style World War II costume. He has a half-mask, badge-shaped shield, and the very narrow stripes around his abdomen, which make it a welcome tribute to Captain America co-creator Joe Simon's art from Cap's earliest days in print. Number 8 is Marvel Legends Series 1 Captain America from 2002. I know a lot of collectors still love this figure, and I do too, and you'll probably have it ranked higher than I do, but there have been a lot of Captain America figures released in the last 4 years, and technology has come a long way since this figure hit the shelves. As part of the first series of Marvel Legends, Toy Biz hadn't yet established how much articulation was enough, and which points were the right ones. This figure suffers from a severe case of over-articulation. He's got joints everywhere, which makes for a very unstable figure who, ironically, isn't very poseable. Is that irony? Number 7 is Marvel Legends Face Off Series 1 Masked Captain America. Released in 2006, this figure took the already strong mold and articulation of the Ultimates Captain America, released in 2004, swapped out his boots and gloves, and gave him a more comic-styled head. It's a really great blend of the Ultimates version of Cap with respect to the gear on his belt and his stature, but with a much more traditional comic-styled paint scheme with brighter reds and blues. Number 6 is Marvel Legends Twin Pack Series 1 Ultimate Captain America. The first and only Marvel Legends version of his World War II Ultimates uniform, this figure has a profound amount of detail and accessories and doesn't sacrifice articulation in the process. He has a removable helmet, a badge-styled shield, and a gun, which is something that most Captain America figures try to avoid. Soldiers is as soldiers does, so a gun makes sense. He can't throw a shield, but he's got to throw something, and a gun is basically just a bullet-throwing machine, so I don't see what the big deal is. Number 5 is Avengers Rocket Grenade Captain America. Released in 2011, he's the best 3 3/4 inch figure featuring the first Avenger version of his World War II uniform. The one that was released in conjunction with the actual film had no business getting past quality control. The proportions are all wrong and the suit just doesn't look right. This is a much more satisfying figure and much closer to the design, even though it doesn't have the same articulation as the first Avenger version. How does an inexpensive 3 3/4 inch 9 points of articulation figure rank so high? For the majority of my collecting life, I've been a 3 3/4 inch fan. My first loves are vintage Star Wars and G.I. Joe. If this figure had been released in 1981 instead of 2011, he could have easily taken the number 1 spot just out of personal nostalgia. This figure is ranked at number 5 since I have retroactively imposed a lifetime of loving this figure onto it because I know it would have been my most important piece if I could have actually played with it as a kid instead of as an adult. Number 4 is Secret Wars Captain America. A 4.5 inch figure released in 1984, this was the vintage small-scale Captain America figure that I played with and loved to death as a kid. Not this one specifically, mine is long gone and probably wouldn't have had any paint left on him if he were still here. If he were here, if he were still here, if here were still here. That's what it says. This was the best Captain America figure, practically the only Captain America figure available from 1984 to 1990. And the one that came out in 1990 was a super turd. If I could change one thing about it, I'd give him a proper shield instead of the orange lenticular shield that all the figures were packed with. That said, he's the only figure who it made sense to have any shield in the first place. Number 3 is Marvel Legends Infinite Series Mandroid Build-A-Figure Wave Winter Soldier Shield Strike Suit. Does that cover it? Do you know which one I'm talking about? Excellent sculpt, excellent paint apps, enough articulation without being over-articulated, interchangeable hands, interchangeable heads. I never thought I would like a Captain America suit more than the traditional red, white, and blue Stars and Stripes costume, but this version of the strike suit is a very close second. My only complaint is the oversized covert ops shield that was included. I don't know why it was so huge in proportion to the figure, and for everything that gets over-explained in the movies, we never got an explanation of how and why they stripped all the paint off of his shield and then repainted it for the rest of the film. Number 2 is Mego Captain America. Originally released in 1973, he was so popular he remained in active production through 1982. While the costume is a bit off-model, lacking white sleeves and red gloves, there is enough of his signature look for it to still feel like Captain America. Complete examples are expensive due to the delicate nature of the materials that were used. But even with some wear and tear, Mego Captain America is an iconic figure from an iconic line that produced characters from both Marvel and DC at the same time, as well as a multitude of TV and film properties. Like the character, this figure is an anachronism in today's market, but still holds up with respect to articulation and nostalgic charm. Number 1 is Marvel Legends Infinite Series Marvel Now Captain America. Released in 2014, this figure was based on the Captain America suit ushered in as part of the Marvel Now relaunch of the Marvel Universe in 2012. It has a fantastic sculpt which includes all of the tiny details that artist Jerome Opeña incorporated to give a modern feel to a costume that has been around for nearly 75 years. It's modern sci-fi military, but doesn't stray too far away from superhero. He takes the number 1 spot for me because no other figure looks as good on my shelf with the other Avengers. He's modern, he's well articulated, he's the Captain America figure that makes sense right now, especially since both movie Avengers figures have been so poorly done. There's only 10 figures on this list, and there are like 1,000 others out there. Let us know which figures you would have included or how you changed the ordering of my list in the comments below. Don't forget to like and hey, hit subscribe so you don't miss out on future lists.